Reporting breaking news, this coming from Adrian Wojnarowski reporting with Ramona Shelburne that the Brooklyn Nets have acquired Houston's James Harden in a blockbuster deal.
As far as I'm concerned, it's finals or bust. You assemble Lethal Weapon 3, which is what we could easily call them right now. There's simply no excuse not to come out of the East and advance to the NBA Finals. There really is not an excuse.
The Nets have to make the finals. They have to make the finals. This is the only big three in the NBA. And whenever we've seen a big three, they at least make the finals.
But I know they put these teams together to deal with LeBron James.
As soon as we can be on the court together, this is going to be scary hours. This is going to be scary hours.
This is going to be scary hours.
As we all know, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were recently traded out of Brooklyn. KD worked with the front office and was sent to his preferable destination, the Phoenix Suns, while Kyrie ended up getting his request ignored and was sent to the Mavericks instead. With that in mind, a lot of people have been questioning their time in Brooklyn, especially with James Harden. Throughout a 2-year span, they all managed to only play 16 games together, which is absolutely insane. Therefore, nothing was accomplished during this dramatic era, and there was honestly more negatives than positives. With that in mind, I thought that it would be a good idea to do a timeline of this whole James Harden era in Brooklyn and truly know what went wrong. Every detail and perspective will be shown in this video, and it's really about to be a banger. Now without further ado, let's get straight to it. This entire James Harden saga started back in January 13th of 2021. After expressing frustration within the Rockets organization and basically quitting on the team with his off-the-court activity, Harden got his wish of getting traded to his favorite destination, the Brooklyn Nets. This meant that he was about to team up with two of the best generational talents in the NBA in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. However, here's where things already started in the wrong direction. At the time of the James Harden trade, Kyrie Irving had just been absent from the entire Nets organization for an entire week and didn't say a single reason why. I mean, the man was literally going to parties consistently during the stretch and even joined random Zoom calls when it was Nets game time. Therefore, Harden had to play his first couple of games as a Net with just Kevin Durant, which was concerning. Nevertheless, since it's freaking James Harden and Kevin Durant playing on the same team, the Nets were able to beat the Orlando Magic 122-115 and the Milwaukee Bucks 125-123. During that 2-game stretch, Harden averaged a ridiculous 33 points, 13 assists, and 9 rebounds per game, while Kevin Durant averaged a ridiculous 36 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds. Things were just looking amazing for his team thus far, and Kyrie was not even there yet. However, after noticing the progress of the squad, Kyrie decided to return to the Nets organization the next day and was available for Wednesday's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He also expressed how he felt about the James Harden trade in an interview, and he said the following.
I was very excited, just to have James here. Obviously, letting go of some of the pieces that have been here in the Nets organization for a while, even before I got here. It's going to be hard regardless. It's just the nature of the business. We're all brothers still, so we're just moving on into the next phase of just developing as a team and just building some camaraderie and having fun.
And now it was time for the Big Three to make their debut against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The anticipation of this game was at an all-time high, and Kyrie even got himself a Cavs tribute before the game for the contributions to the franchise. Anyways, the game started and well, things went as expected. Since it was their first game together, the trio struggled as a whole this game, but were still able to keep the game close thanks to KD's and Kyrie Irving's incredible offensive efforts. Then with 8 seconds left remaining in regulation, things got interesting. Harden got a steal, passed the ball to Irving, and then got called for an offensive foul on Sexton. Steve Nash successfully though challenged the call, but the Nets did not have enough time to get a shot up, sending the game to overtime. Then in the final seconds of overtime, Durant could not connect on a difficult fadeaway at the horn, sending the game to double overtime. And well, the game got ugly fast. Colin Sexton, out of all people, took over and scored 20 straight points for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Coincidentally, he was wearing Kyrie Irving shoes while he was going off on him, which was comedy. Anyway, Sexton ended up with 42 points and the Cavs won 147-135. To make this even crazier, the Nets lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers again 2 days later, as Harden and Kyrie had horrible efficiency. To make things fair though, KD didn't play this game due to rest. However, the Big Three started clicking the next few games and went 5-1 during that stretch. Harden was finally fitting nicely as the facilitator of the team, while Kyrie and KD were dominating as scorers. However, a few days later, health concerns occurred. On February 5th of 2021, Kevin Durant tested positive for COVID-19 and missed the next 4 games, in which the Nets went 1-3 on. Then after he came back against the Golden State Warriors and dominated with the big three once again, he suffered a hamstring injury that at first was seen as mild, but then ended up being way worse. Therefore, Kyrie and Harden had to carry the load for a whole month, and while they were dominant, during the month of March, Harden averaged a triple-double with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists per game, while Kyrie averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Not only that, but the Nets went 11-2 during that month, and even signed both Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge off the buyout market. Basically, it was clear that when healthy, this team will win the NBA championship. Anyways, Kevin Durant ended up returning to the Brooklyn Nets on April 7th and scored an easy 17 points off the bench. However, Harden got injured in this same game and ironically suffered the same injury as Kevin Durant, a hamstring strain. Therefore, it was now time for KD and Kyrie to carry the load instead. Then on April 18th, against the Miami Heat, KD got injured once again, and this time it was a left thigh contusion. And now Kyrie was left alone with the role players and was deemed to carry the load for the Brooklyn Nets. And man, he did so. Kyrie went off the whole month of April and was part of the 40-90 club. Then on May 12th against the San Antonio Spurs, Harden returned from the injury and now it looked like the big three was finally able to play for a longer stretch. However, since Harden was still sore from the injury, he load managed for the rest of the season and didn't play much. The Nets were still good enough with KD and Kyrie as the leading scorers, and the team ended up with a 5-game winning streak. Therefore, the team concluded with an amazing 48-24 record and were set to face off the Boston Celtics in the first round. To make things even better, it was reported that the Big Three was finally fully healthy to compete in the playoffs and were ready to take on the Boston Celtics. And while they dominated, they humiliated the Celtics so bad that in Game 5 alone, the trio combined for 104 points. Yes, that actually happened. Therefore, with the Big Three averaging 25 plus points per game in the whole first round with great efficiency, they were able to take down the Boston Celtics and defeat them in 5 games. With that in mind, the Nets were set to face off the Milwaukee Bucks, who just finished sweeping the Miami Heat in the first round. However, guess what happened in just the first game of the series? Another injury happened, and now it was Harden again. He suffered a grade 2 sprain in his left hamstring and was rumored to be out for the rest of the series. This was a huge blow for the Brooklyn Nets, but this didn't distract the team from still carrying business. The duo of KD and Kyrie, as well as the supporting cast, dominated the first 2 games of the series and then held a 2-1 lead after 3 games. However, in Game 4, something tragic happened again, and well, it was another injury. This time it was Kyrie, and he suffered a scary ankle injury after landing in Giannis' ankles. Now, Kyrie was out for the rest of the series, and KD was left alone until somehow James Harden managed to play Game 5. He of course struggled in this game and only finished with 5 points on 1 of 10 from the field, but he still dished out 8 assists and had 6 rebounds. Not only that, but Kevin Durant himself dropped 49 points this game and led Brooklyn to a victory. Then in Game 6, with Brooklyn up 3-2, the Bucks responded with a victory and Harden struggled once again. There was still one more game in the books, and it was Game 7, win or go home. However, KD's big-ass feed cost the Nets a game-winning shot, and while Giannis just dominated in the overtime. Also, Harden struggled with 22 points on 5 of 17 from the field, and the infamous Joe Harris brick show was displayed. Anyways, even though the Nets lost, there was still something really positive about the situation, and it was that the offseason finally began. Moving forward to August 17th of 2021, and drama struck again in Brooklyn. This is probably what cost the Big Three's relationship and trust in each other. Kyrie Irving's vaccination status. After the New York City mayor announced that every athlete must be vaccinated to play, Kyrie refused to take the shot due to health concerns. With that in mind, the Nets ruled out Kyrie Irving for the rest of the season, which was a huge blow for the Nets. Now, it was October 18th of 2021, one of the biggest days of the year for the Brooklyn Nets. James Harden had until 11:59 p.m. to sign a contract extension with the Brooklyn Nets, and GM Sean Marks expected to come in agreement with him soon, especially after KD had just signed a very long extension. Harden, however, declined the Nets' contract extension and decided to opt out of his contract. Harden had this to say about this situation.
I think at the course of my career, I've never been a free agent before, so I've always just been, loyal and just signing, contract extension and just being there. I just want to take my time with it. It's gonna be very, very difficult to leave here, or even to leave Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
But I think this season I just want to focus on winning a championship, and everything else will work itself out.
With that being said, the Nets started off the year strong with a record of 21-8, but yet again we're struggling with health. This time it was COVID. Therefore, the Nets decided to bring Kyrie Irving back to play, but it was only for road games. Also, surprisingly, this caused a lot of problems in the locker room, especially with James Harden. He was not sure that if playing with Kyrie Irving part-time is enough to win an NBA championship, and well, he asked Kyrie one more time if he could get the vaccine. Without hesitation, Kyrie sadly said no. However, Harden still had hope that this situation wouldn't last long and kept playing. However, KD got COVID right after Harden himself was recovering from the virus, which meant that another depleted stretch of games was meant to happen. Surprisingly though, James Harden performed really well on this road trip and the Nets were looking really good moving forward. However, after KD returned to the lineup just a few days later, the Big Three sadly played the final game together in Chicago, and of course they dominated. They combined for 61 points as a trio and went on one of the craziest runs in the third quarter. Therefore, the Nets ended up blowing out a really good Chicago Bulls team 138-112. But on January 15th, KD managed to get injured once again and sprained his MCL. This was the start of the Nets disaster, and well, Harden started to play really bad. Without KD right there and Kyrie as a part-time player, Harden lost his rhythm and had one of the worst shooting stretches of his career. With that in mind, the Nets went 2-9 in the next 11 games, and Harden officially played his last game as a Net in Sacramento. This was probably the worst game of his career and a disgraceful way to go out. He had 4 points on horrible efficiency, a ton of turnovers, and played one of the laziest defenses ever. It was clear that Harden was out of it, and well, it led to trade talks within the next few days. For some reason though, KD and Nash rejected the rumors of James Harden getting traded and said that his hamstring injury was the reason that he was sitting out. But now we know that it was a cover-up, as a few days later, Harden got traded to the Philadelphia 76ers for a package centered around Ben Simmons. Even though Harden was first hesitant to get traded due to the backlash that he would receive from the media, he still FaceTimed Sean Marks on his phone and demanded a trade that same day. Now, it was February 3rd of 2023. After months of drama and speculation, Kyrie finally requested a trade out of Brooklyn. He demanded to be sent to LA or else he'll sit out for the rest of the season. However, since Joe Tsai really hated Kyrie, he didn't give two shits about his request and purposely asked the Lakers for an insane package. This of course led to them being out of the sweepstakes, forcing Kyrie to be sent to Dallas. Now after Kyrie was traded out of Brooklyn, Harden was asked about this move, and let's just say that he couldn't care less. I mean, in a post-game interview, the man simply stated, quote, "It's a trade that happened." In other words, Harden wants no business with Kyrie, especially after that drama in Brooklyn. On the other hand, Kevin Durant was stuck in Brooklyn with Ben Simmons being his second best player. However, that thankfully didn't last long, as just 2 days later, he was sent to Phoenix. Now the craziest thing about this trade is that it was actually done privately with Joe Tsai. Instead of just trading KD to any team, Joe Tsai purposely negotiated with the Suns only so KD could go there. Yeah, that really happened, and well, Kyrie was quite upset about it.
Or just kind of dealt with in a way that doesn't make me feel respected. And there were times throughout this process when I was in Brooklyn where I felt very disrespected, and my talent, I work extremely hard at what I do. No one ever talks about my work ethic though. Everyone talks about what I'm doing off the floor. So I just want to change that narrative and write my own story and just continue to prepare in the gym. There's a lot of disrespect that goes on with people's families, with their names, and I'm just not with it. Things start to change and you're not getting transparency and honesty from people in the front office or people around you. I mean, I don't know what person feels comfortable or confident in that type of environment.
Damn, you can tell Kyrie was going through it in Brooklyn, and I'm just glad that both parted ways. However, that right there is not it. After KD was introduced in Phoenix for the first time, Harden was asked to explain the Big Three era and why things didn't work out.
There's a lot of dysfunction. Clearly, you know what I mean? But there was a lot of internal things that I'm not going to never just say or put in the media or do anything. And that was one of the reasons why, I chose to make my decision. But now, fast forward to date, I don't look like the crazy one. I don't look like the guy that, or the quitter or whatever, the media want to call me. Like, I knew what was going on, and I just decided to, hey, I'm not built for this. Like, I don't want to deal with that. I want to play basketball and have fun and enjoy doing it. And fast forward to today, they got a whole new roster.
Could you have imagined by the time you came back, Kyrie and Kevin would be gone?
Yeah. Really? I mean, I didn't just actually leave for no reason.
Alright, after listening to this, I think it's safe to say that the front office also has to be held accountable. Even though Kyrie was a huge reason for his departure, there was clearly more things done behind the scenes. And that pretty much concludes the most disappointing super team and Big Three ever. In 16 games together, the trio went 13-3 and had one of the best efficiencies ever. I really wish this worked out until this day because the talent was just too good for it to fail. Now with all this being said, what do you guys think about this failed super team? Who will you blame the most for how things turned out? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and turn on those notifications so you know when I upload a new banger. I hope everyone has a great day. Peace out.